Good morning, distinguished guests, and welcome to this conference on restructuring the world economy. I would like to begin by thanking the Korea Development Institute for co-organizing this event. I would also like to thank the Presidential Committee for the G20 Summit, the Ministry of Strategy and Economy, the Financial Services Commission, and the Bank of Korea for their support. Hopefully, the most severe crisis since the Great Depression is winding down. Nonetheless, policymakers face many new challenges. Some are immediate, such as deciding when and how to exit from the crisis support measures. At the same time, the persistence of global imbalances signifies that risk to recovery remains substantial. Other challenges pertain to establishing strong and sustained growth over the medium term. Our goal for this conference is to provide a forum for discussing these challenges. The paper prepared by IMF staff that form the basis of today's program are intended to serve as a starting point for our discussions. The content of these presentations do not represent official fund positions, but rather reflect our internal debate. I would like to take a few minutes to present the key ideas in each of these papers. First, exit strategies. While financial crises hit economies around the world at more or less the same time, recovery from the crisis is taking place at different speed across economic regions. In several advanced economies, the recovery remains vulnerable. High and still rising unemployment, together with weakened household balance sheets, are holding back private consumption, while tighter than normal credit conditions are restraining investment. By contrast, in many emerging economies, the recovery is underway already, reflecting buoyant domestic demand and relatively healthy financial sectors. Overall, the IMF has called for supportive policy to be maintained through 2010 and for most of the world's advanced economies, while in many emerging economies, notably in some in Asia, the time for stimulus withdrawal has arrived already. Judging when to exit from macroeconomic stimulus is a difficult challenge. Unwinding too early could jeopardize the recovery. In contrast, maintaining support for too long could pose risks to price, financial, and physical stability. In response to the IMFC's request for the fund to advise on the timing and nature of exit, IMF staff have prepared the paper presented today in the first section. The paper identifies 5 basic principles to guide an exit strategy. First, strategies must be integrated across policy instruments. For example, in countries where restoring physical sustainability is critical, physical measures should be withdrawn first, while monetary policy can remain supportive for some time. Second, exit strategy must be able to adjust flexibly to unforeseen developments. Exiting will not involve a single decision, but will rather comprise a series of evolving steps. Third, strategy should rely, where possible, on market-based incentives. More generally, policies must aim to restore the role of market forces, especially in the financial sector, where the government has taken on an expansive role in many advanced economies. Fourth, strategy should be established early and communicated clearly and consistently to reduce uncertainty. Fifth, cross-country consultation and coordination on macroeconomics policy can increase the chance of success. Of course, laying out broad principle is the relatively easy part. The difficulty emerges when putting them into practice. The IMF is playing an important role in these more practical efforts as well. The next issue is global imbalance. While the issue of exit has often been presented solely in terms of removing crisis-related measures, I would prefer to think of it in a broader question of choosing the sort of global economy we would like to exit into. Most notably, it is necessary to think clearly about how we can avoid reinstating the array of policies that produced a record widening of global imbalances and that played an important role in fomenting the current crisis. International policy coherence will represent a necessary condition for achieving the needed global rebalancing in demand growth. The G20 also identified demand growth as being critical for secure strong, sustainable, and balanced growth. Even though global imbalances have narrowed considerably since the crisis, there is a significant risk that they might widen again in the absence of policy adjustments. And failure to address the underlying cause of imbalance could result in a world economy getting stuck in the middle of the stream, threatening the sustainability of recovery. The principal recommendation of this session's papers includes: if global growth is to be put on a more sustainable footing, U.S. net national savings will need to increase. A significant adjustment in private saving out of current income has taken place already in the context of the crisis. Moreover, further adjustment is to be expected in the coming years. At the same time, growth in the major surplus countries, such as China, will need to be led relatively more by domestic demand, especially by private consumption. Improved social insurance, stronger corporation governance, and increased access to credit for household and SMEs will be needed. Moreover, real exchange rate adjustment almost certainly will play an integral role in achieving better balanced and sustainable growth in global demand. If oil prices are stable or higher in the medium term, some oil exporting countries will be able to further boost domestic demand, especially through increased spending on social infrastructure. The IMF is supporting the rebalancing effort through our policy advice and surveillance activities. Turning to medium-term challenges, the crisis revealed potential flaws in the prevailing macroeconomic policy frameworks, as well as major gap in financial sector supervision and regulation, and vulnerability in the international monetary system. These issues are at the center of the current debate about the future shape of economic and financial policy. Final issue we will be discussing is the future financial system. It comes as no surprise that the crisis, with its financial sector origins, has motivated a profound re-evaluation of the global financial system. How policymakers and market participants respond to the recent events will shape the future financial system and its role in the global economy for decades to come. To limit future crises, we must be better equipped to cope with the system risk in a globalized system. This will require multiple reforms. In addition, regulation will be needed to limit excessive leverage and risk taking. Of course, efforts to mitigate system risks are not costless. For example, excessive regulation could stifle innovation and limit the potential benefits of a global integrated financial system. The dramatic recent demonstration of the impact of international linkage has underscored the importance of creating a new regulatory framework that is broadly consistent across countries. This will represent a complex challenge. The IMF can and will encourage our members to coordinate their reform efforts, and the fund's detailed knowledge of its members' financial system and its experience in monitoring global standards and codes should allow the fund to contribute meaningfully to the efforts currently underway to design a new financial system that serves the global community. Reaching agreement, however, will require serious and sustained political support. As you can see, today's agenda is both broad and deep. I thank you for joining us today and look forward to a useful discussion.